Alright, let's see what's on Crunchyroll. Huh.
全然寝足りねえ。
くそほど使えなかったな。トニー。
ミサイルとか落ちてこねえかな。俺が穴開けたら先輩たちにもしわ寄せが。それに同業他社に比べたらうちなんてまだ。
He's just like me for real.
I never would have expected that a zombie anime would have me contemplating my own life and my own work history quite like Zom100 is. Walking into the show, I fully expected to be getting something like High School of the Dead or Kabanari of the Iron Fortress. Two absolute bangers, but in two totally different aspects. Total wish fulfillment on both sides of the anime spectrum, but not series that I would have ever called relatable. Sure, some of the characters do things and act in ways that I can relate to, but the scope of what they do, how they do it, and the world it takes place in is so far outside of my own life that true relatability is hard to come by. So when I tuned into Zom100 thinking it would just be some kind of generic action show that also had zombies and maybe a little bit of fan service, I really couldn't believe what I was watching. The number of things that I've realized in my own life and had happened to me in my own life was staggering. Abusive bosses, a toxic work culture, a for-profit mindset that doesn't care about the health or safety of their workers. It's like just another day with the Zuck, if you ask me. This felt like a rare example of being seen in an anime. Anime often focuses on high school and high school troubles. I mean, that's kind of like the bread and butter of anime, so not really too unsurprising there. But it's not common to see a show where the main characters are adults or dealing with very real struggles of navigating the workplace. So when Akira realizes that his life outside of college, his background as a rugby player, or his hopes of producing commercials for big-time brands amounts to really nothing, and that only following orders is what matters, yeah, I felt that. I think of the hobbies I used to have, thrown by the wayside, the occupational dreams I wanted as a child, never fulfilled, the sports or the games that I used to enjoy spending my time doing, now something that I only talk about having used to do. And that's when I realized that this silly little show about the zombie apocalypse may just be the most relatable anime I've ever watched. Akira's youthful excitement at starting his adult life and soon realizing the very brutal struggles that come with it spoke to my own trajectory outside of college in a very visceral way. I spent my first 2 years out of school teaching English in Japan on the JET program, where I witnessed a lot of exactly the same stuff that Akira went through, but mostly avoided with my gaijin or foreigner card. As a foreigner living in Japan and working in Japan, I was afforded the grand luxury of being granted my days off from work, being able to go on holiday when I wanted to go on holiday, going home when work ended at 5 o'clock, and not being shamed for only doing what my job description asked of me. My Japanese coworkers, however, especially the younger ones, were not as fortunate and often stayed at school until well after 9 p.m. doing who knows what, clocking unpaid hour after unpaid hour for really no one's benefit. And this really extended even worse for my friends who were working at your more traditional Japanese companies. The things that Akira was experiencing in the show were very real to my friends and the experiences they were having. Once I got back home though in the States, and I started to ascend up the corporate ladder here, all of those same bad habits, those issues with self-care, the reluctance to wake up and get my ass to work, smacked me in the face like a load of bricks. I mean, this shit was hard, unfulfilling, and what I had to show for it was very little. And even years after starting that journey working, I still feel like things haven't particularly changed. If anything, life gets more complicated and you have to work harder to find those moments of joy in your day-to-day life. That's why watching Akira lose his innocence, or his energy, and his enthusiasm for life hit home so hard. It's why when the zombie apocalypse did break out in the show, I just smiled like Akira at the sudden realization that those same weights that I carry were in some way gone for him. The scene where he's looking out the window thinking about a meteor coming and crashing into the planet to take all of that struggle away was something that I think maybe not so morbidly, or maybe just as morbidly, every person who's worked a 9 to 5 or a traditional job or really dealt with anything difficult has at one time or another thought about. I mean, at that point when the apocalypse for Akira really did break out and the world was full of zombies, he traded his life as a corporate zombie for one of navigating a broken world full of real zombies. But a world at least where he was free, and that freedom to be the person he wants to be, to live the life he hasn't been able to live, was truly relatable, and something I think that people watching this show will feel very much a relationship to, or a certain level of kinness with. In a way, while not your typical shonen power fantasy wish fulfillment, it did really hit at something more raw and deeply needed. This level of freedom, this something that we're all missing in our day-to-day. Now, I don't think of myself as a pessimist. In fact, I'd consider myself to actually be quite positive and 99% of the time happy. But those feelings that the show evoked in me, those memories of becoming a working person outside of school, were very real and extremely interesting, considering that episode 2 is about going for a beer run and meeting a cute girl. I haven't read the manga, and I imagine the show will become more of a romp around Japan as Akira and his fellow survivors that he does meet fulfill their own bucket lists and prioritize a life of chasing what's most meaningful to them after living lives that were less than meaningful. So anyway, that's it for now. Let me know what's on your bucket list, whether that be a zombie apocalypse bucket list or just in general. Would be happy to read through it in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.